Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on this other edition of Global Insights on your Pan-African television for you media. Today on the program, we shall be focusing on the just ended general elections in Rwanda, where President Paul Kagame emerged as the leader of the country with a landslide victory over his contenders. Now we focus on the elections, and Paul Kagame, like I mentioned earlier on, he won with a landslide victory. Partial results released by the country's National Electoral Commission on Monday showed Kagame received 7,099,810 votes of the total 9,071,157 votes cast, equating to 99.15%. Now, Rwanda has come a long way from its tumultuous past to achieve significant progress under President Kagame's leadership. The country has seen remarkable improvements in various socio-economic indicators such as income levels, literacy rates, healthcare access, and infrastructure development. Now, as we delve into the results and implications of the just ended elections, we will explore both perspectives of President Kagame's leadership and Rwanda's future development. Don't go away, stay with us as we look at this fourth term of President Paul Kagame of Rwanda and what lies ahead for the country that has witnessed quite some growth during his reign as president. Stay with us. It's always a pleasure to know you are glued to your Pan-African television for you. And today we are going to be talking about the just ended general elections in Rwanda, where President Paul Kagame emerged as the country's leader, and he actually won by a landslide victory, gaining 99.15% of the votes cast, according to partial results released by the Electoral Commission on Monday. And today on the program, we are going to be looking at what Kagame has in store for Rwandans in the future or in the following years during his reign in the country. And to join us in this discussion this day, we have a gentleman and a lady, and we're going to begin with the lady. And now we usually say ladies before a gentleman, and we have LINZ CAMARA, who is joining us all the way from Moscow. She's a journalist. She's a Rwandan as well. Hello, LINZ, and thanks for taking the rendezvous to be with us this day on For You on Global Insights.
Hello, thank you so much.
It's our pleasure to have you with us, and we are hoping that in the next minutes or in the next hour and some minutes, we are going to talk a lot about the just ended elections in Rwanda and what the Kagame administration has for Rwandans, and what is it that the administration still has to do for Rwandans that it has not done over the years. We equally have with us this afternoon FIDEL AMAKYE OWUSU. He is an international relations expert as well as a security analyst, and is joining us all the way from Ghana. Hello, sir, and thanks for joining us on the program. Right, Fidel is going to be with us in the next couple of minutes to talk about the just ended Rwandan elections and what the stakes are as Kagame embarks on a new term in office, a new term that some critics have actually kicked against and are not sure why Kagame had to go in for a fourth term. But then Rwandans have if we are looking at the results of the elections, that is just to say Rwandans have put their trust in him, and these are actually the words of Paul Kagame when he was talking to the people, when he addressed the people after the election results. Now let's delve straight away into the subject matter of the day, LINZ. Now when we take a look at the just ended elections and the results that were proclaimed by the National Electoral Commission on Monday. As like I mentioned earlier on, these are just partial results. The entire results will be made public in the days that follow. Now, what are your analysis on this? What can you say about this result? Kagame winning by a landslide victory of 99.15%.
First of all, I'll begin with saying that, yes, we had elections on Monday, but the diaspora in Moscow voted on Sunday.
Right.
And we voted at the Rwandan embassy in Moscow. And we were all happy with the results because we all stayed back to count the votes, and definitely all the votes were sent to Rwanda and also recounted and analyzed. And the diaspora that voted in Moscow collected about 100% votes. And when we had the results from Rwanda, we were happy with the results. And I think there is reason for that because Rwanda basically is a small country that has developed over the years. And as compared to, of course, the times in the beginning of the 90s and way up to now, we can see how far Rwanda has developed and changed. It has grown economically with its developed infrastructure, with the healthcare improvements and the new education reforms. So Rwanda has really experienced impressive economic growth, right? Often cited as one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. And it has diversified its economy and reduced its reliance on subsistence agriculture. So the main developments in Rwanda right now are definitely the roads, the city itself, and the small towns that have been well developed. You cannot find, for example, in any small city, I don't know, you can't find any dirty small city around outside Kigali. And all the towns are equipped with electricity, with water. People are living well. So health-wise, also, Rwanda has made significant strides in healthcare, achieving notable reduction in infant mortality and major improvements in life expectancy. And the country has also implemented universal health insurance program known as Mutuelle de Santé. And most people right now, because everyone is used to the fact that Rwandans speak French, but I think everyone is aware that we're a little bit moved from that stage. And now the languages that are spoken in the country are Kinyarwanda and English. Of course, French remains as one of the languages spoken in the country, but English is in priority right now. On the other hand, I would like to say that with the coming of President Kagame into power once again, of course, there are a number of things to be redesigned and implemented concerning technology advancements, for example, because unlike other countries where some are trying to, like, for example, Botswana, or when you compare Botswana and South Africa, or maybe even Kenya, they have e-banking systems, which we don't have, unfortunately, in Rwanda, and everyone is still stuck to mobile money. So hopefully, it will be one of the things that will be developed on the new term of the current president.
Right, LINZ, thank you very much. Of course, from your analysis, we see that Rwanda is equipped in almost every sector. The only part you touched was technology, and of course, which I think President Paul Kagame is going to be looking at in this term of office, and I'm sure Rwandans have already spelled that out to him. Let's continue to look at these elections now. Following the release of this partial results by the National Electoral Commission of Rwanda, we had appraisals from international observers as well as even the contenders, Kagame's two contenders. They actually considered victory, considered defeat, I beg your pardon, to Paul Kagame, and they actually praised the electoral process and the peaceful nature in which the elections were conducted. What can you say about this, about the electoral process in Rwanda and all of these appraisals coming in? Are you going to add your voice to it, or do you have different opinions of this?
Well, since I wasn't in Rwanda, I wouldn't really have much to comment about this.
Okay.
But well, I can only base on what was happening here in Moscow.
Right,
So,
now,
yeah.
okay, can you tell us a little bit about how the elections went on the way over there in Moscow? Did you appreciate the manner in which the elections were conducted? And would you say that the Rwandans in Moscow they showed patriotism in selecting a leader for the country?
Yes, the Rwandans in Moscow showed patriotism, and there were so many Rwandans that turned up for the elections, and the elections were well arranged and organized. Everything was followed under protocol, and there was, of course, there were situations. I remember when we were counting the votes, and there were a few ballot papers that had two, like they had two people chosen on the paper instead of one person, or like two parties instead of one person, but they were not very many. It was just like about 2 or 3 ballot papers. So, but in general, everything took place calm, and there was. We had no problems at all. Everyone was happy, and everyone came to vote at the embassy with joy, and everyone came with somebody. So, like, students even came with some of their friends from different cities, and the rest of the diaspora was also present, and the whole embassy staff was also there to supervise the whole election process.
Right, thank you very much. And for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching Global Insight. And for you, media, and today we are focusing on the just ended general elections in Rwanda, where Paul Kagame won by a landslide victory, gaining 99.15% of the votes cast, according to partial results released by the Electoral Commission on Monday. And like we may all know, Rwandans started voting on the 14th of July, beginning with the diaspora who cast their votes on the 14th, and Rwandans went to the polls on July 15, and of course the results, partial results were proclaimed that same day, where Paul Kagame gained 99.1% of those votes cast. We know over 9 million Rwandans went to the poll to vote a new leader. Now, let's take a look at what some of the comments that Paul Kagame made during the Liberation Day, otherwise known as Kwi Buhara. And the president, he actually highlighted the importance of trust, of unity and hard work in rebuilding Rwanda. Now, let's go down memory lane. Would you say, or can you say that it was evident in his past term, in his past governance, all those things he mentioned during the Liberation Day celebrations?
The priority number one after we've gone through all this is to continue to make as much progress as we can in the area of security and stability of our country, socio-economic development, progress, and continuing to see the country really grow in all aspects of development. So it's just the same path we have been on, rebuilding our country, growing it towards prosperity. That is what is preoccupying us.
That's the president-elect of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, talking to the press just before Rwandans went to the polls to vote him into another term of office. And there he was answering to a question posed by one of the journalists about what this new government is going to do for the people of Rwanda if they were to win the elections. And Paul Kagame telling them that it was the new government was going to embark on more growth and prosperity of the country as well as stability. Let me come back to you, LINZ. Now, earlier on, before we had that excerpt of the president talking about what the new government has in store for Rwandans. Now, I was talking about what the president mentioned during the Liberation Day celebration, the Liberation Day, otherwise known as Kwi Buhara. The president actually highlighted the importance of unity, of trust, as well as hard work in rebuilding Rwanda. All of us know where Rwanda came from before Paul Kagame became a president. Now, if we go down memory lane, if we look at his past governance, would you say that the president is actually working in that line?
Yes, I would agree and say that the president is actually working in that line because the reconciliation and unity has actually made a significant efforts in changing the society that we are living in today in Rwanda. And it's only through this that we have managed to live together as one united country, Rwandans, and what we had back, if I to turn back time, what we had back then during the genocide and the aftermath. Rwanda has changed quite a lot. And there is unity among people. There is no discrimination. There is total security, no theft, no crime rates, no anything. You're safe to walk any time of the night and know that you are just safe. You are protected. So I think the president has done a good job in that direction.
All right. Thank you so much, LINZ. The president has done quite a good job. And like you mentioned, there is no discrimination in Rwanda. Every Rwandan at this point in time is actually having or feeling like he or she belongs to the country, if I may come to that conclusion, going by what you say, what you said. Now, let's take a look at the opposition that actually considered a defeat in these elections. Now, what can you say about the democratic process right now in Rwanda? Because when we take a look at other African countries, right, we are just getting information that FIDEL is with us. We are going to be coming back to you, FIDEL. We are going to be coming back to you. We are glad to have you back on board, and we are hoping that we're going to have a very fruitful discussion. Let me come back to you, LINZ. I was talking about the democratic process in the country. We have the opposition that actually considered defeat, and they actually also praised the manner in which the elections were conducted. And most of the times when we take a look at other African countries, we don't see this happening. We don't see the opposition actually coming out rightly to say that whoever won the election actually won the election, and we see the opposition most of the times claiming foul, claiming fraud in the whole electoral process. What can you say about this in Rwanda, and what is it that other African countries can learn from Rwanda?
Hello, is the question to me?
I was talking to LINZ. Thank you so much, FIDEL, for joining us. I was still with LINZ. I'm coming to you in the minutes that follow.
Okay.
Right. LINZ, are you with us?
Yes, I'm there.
All right. Did you get my question?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Carry on.
So I think what the rest of the continent has to learn from Rwanda is, I think, diligence, because Rwanda as a country and its people are unique in a way that everyone is cooperative. So, and everyone takes every single step or decision that is meant for the country serious. So that is why you find that even during elections, there is nobody, trying to make the other party or the other candidate feel bad about the election, that someone is going to lose or someone is going to win or anything. There is no chaos, literally, because within the nature, I think, of Rwandans and the culture itself, it teaches us to be composed and calm and dedicated. So that is where everything comes from. That is why when everything is, whatever function is taking place, you literally find everyone dedicated into what they are doing. Just like the voluntary cleaning around the city, every person, even the youth, even the old people, are just excited to go out and do something for their country. So it's just love for the country. And I would love to see every other African loving their own country and being so much dedicated to doing something good for their country without having to involve violence or aggressiveness or anything. Yeah.
All right, thank you. That is to say, other African countries have a lot to copy from Rwanda, and you made mention of something that actually caught my attention, that you have this culture that is being taught to you. You have to learn to be composed. I think that's something that is very peculiar, and a lot of Africans need to work on that, because we find a lot of us getting agitated over little or very small things that we could have sat together as one people and talk about and make a way forward. Now I'm coming to you, FIDEL AMAKYE OWUSU. Thanks for joining us on the program, and thanks for taking our time to be with us this day.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Right, let's delve straight away into the subject matter. We are talking about the just ended general elections in Rwanda, and we see Paul Kagame winning by a landslide victory, 99.15%, according to partial results released by the National Electoral Commission. What can you say about this victory of Paul Kagame? Did you see it coming?
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to extend my sincerest greetings to our cherished listeners and everybody involved in this nice program of yours, and you yourself as well. Firstly, I would like to say that this was not unexpected. I mean, everyone knew that Paul Kagame was going to win these elections anyways. In fact, I wrote an article in 2021 where I talked about the fact that he has no real challenger in Rwanda. Last year, I also wrote something similar. And even late last year, I tried to compare what I call illiberal democracies against true democracies across the continent. I have always expected him to win. I mean, as I said, since 1994, and the kind of intervention that he had led, it is very, very difficult to have any serious challenge politically to his authority. And that is a matter of fact. As to whether that the consequences of that is positive or negative in the long term, the medium term, and the short term, that is also to be looked at. In fact, if you look at his economic policies, they have turned out to be very good. Reconciliation, bringing justice to the victims of the Rwandan massacre that happened in 1994. You look at all that, then you realize that he's done creditably well, and in certain areas like technology, where in Rwanda currently we have what we call the African Silicon Valley that he's creating. Even for a landlord country like Rwanda and a small country like Rwanda, that is very impressive to do. So I think that by and large, he's done well for his country.
Right, Fidel, thank you so much. Paul Kagame has done well for his country. Now, let's take a look at how the elections were prepared over there in Rwanda. We have international elections observers who have come out. They actually on Wednesday came out with a joint statement praising the way the elections were conducted in Rwanda. We equally have the opposition that considered defeat, and they also praised the way the elections were conducted. What can you say about this? What does this tell us of Rwanda and its electoral processes?
Is that for me?
Yes, Fidel, I'm still with you.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, in Africa, whenever we are going to the polls, we have people sitting on tenterhooks. I mean, people are neighbors. Elections often come with a lot of violence and other places. But so far, some countries have been doing well. Countries like Botswana, Ghana, Nigeria. And, this does not mean that we've had perfect situations across the continent. But so far, it's been good as far as these countries are concerned, because they've been able to change government. And even where one party dominates, you see some transparency. So for international observer to really come out to communicate that the election was smooth, transparent and fair, I think no one is going to challenge them per se, but then other factors could be analyzed in a more balanced way in order to look at the future of the country. What happens if Paul Kagame is not there? Are we going to have someone from his party who is also going to be that towering and that dominant? Are we going to have a situation where after he has exited or he is not in the picture, we are going to have close contests and things like that? So, it is creditable, and other countries can learn as far as the transparency and fairness aspect of the whole system is concerned. I think that other countries can learn from it. have a more transparent and a more smooth transition. Last year, we had coups. In 2021, we had a coup in Guinea. And then last year, we had one in Gabon. All these coups were as a result of elections that were not transparent. In Gabon, the Electoral Commission was declaring the results at 2 a.m. at dawn, which was not, the best. So the soldiers had to take power. In Guinea, after a sham elections, the military stepped in and it created a whole lot of problems for the country. And currently, these two countries are under military rule. So, what we are hearing from Rwanda seek to communicate something positive for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fidel. Of course, Rwanda is setting the pace for other African countries to follow. It has actually been setting that pace, and we can only see the confirmation of this with the results of the just ended elections in Rwanda, where Paul Kagame gained 99.15% of the vote. That's going by partial results made public by the National Electoral Commission. Now, while Paul Kagame has been in power, I'm still with you, Fidel. While Paul Kagame has been in power, the country has enjoyed quite a good number of, has enjoyed growth in quite a good number of sectors: healthcare, the economy, and many other sectors. So what can you say, if you take a look at the time that Paul Kagame has spent in power, is there any sector in the country, or are there any sectors where Paul Kagame still has to work to take Rwanda further in its growth trajectory? Fidel, can you hear me? Right, we are going to be coming back to Fidel in the minutes that follow. He will join us once again. Let's come back to you, LINZ. Let's continue to look at what Paul Kagame has been doing for the people of Rwanda and what the Rwandans are still expecting from Paul Kagame. Now, when we go by the principles of his government to ensure the growth of the country, to ensure that Rwandans are a better place, they have the right necessities, they have the right standard of living. We have right now what is called the Generation Z, and the Generation Z have been defined as those who were born from 1994 upwards. And we know a lot of, in this generation, the main problem boils down to employment, youth employment. Now, when you take a look at Rwanda and what Paul Kagame has been doing, would you say that youth employment is actually something that cannot be, or youth unemployment is something that cannot be debated in Rwanda?
Looking at Rwanda today and Generation Z, I think that employment still is a big project that has remained unsolved, because there is a high unemployment level in Kigali, and most of the youth, Generation Z in particular, are just jobless. They don't have anything to do, and because of lack of job opportunities, some just resort not to even going to school, or they end up doing some petty kind of jobs, or whoever has the opportunity to travel abroad for a scholarship or whatever, as long as it means leaving the country, they are ready to do so. So unlike all the other positive aspects in the country, with the progress in developments and everything, but in employment still remains a problem.
Right, this unemployment in the country. Now, would you say that this unemployment, this high unemployment rate is as a result of the fact that the government hasn't really created jobs for the young people? Or is it that these young people are not apt, they are not up to the task, they have not gained the right skills to gain employment in the country? What would you say is the problem?
I think the main problem, the problem is just between the two situations. One is that the government hasn't really provided the job opportunities that would be suitable for students to fully practice those skills in the available jobs because they're just not there. And another problem is the youth are not given an opportunity to even have projects on their own. So if there was a platform for the youth to be able to have some small startups or I don't know, just be self-employed and do something they would really want to do, start their own businesses, that would probably motivate young Rwandans to work. But right now, then they don't have any single motivation to even look for any job within the country. So that's why they resort to fleeing the country and finding their luck abroad.
Right, I think that's a problem that most African countries are facing at this point in time, high youth unemployment, where we see young people struggling to get to go for greener pastures, and this has a quite negative effect on the continent. We are looking at brain drain, the youth that have been trained in the country, instead for them to come back to the continent or to their various countries, their respective countries, and give out this knowledge. They take it outside, and it's something that most of our African countries, so African governments, have to look into. Is FIDEL back with us? Is FIDEL back with us? Right, we are still to get through to FIDEL. And as we continue to discuss about Paul Kagame's new term in office and what are the challenges that lie ahead of him and what he has done for Rwanda so far and what it is that he is still to do and what other African countries can copy from his style. We are going to continue talking about that, but before then, let's get this other excerpt of the president during the press or the press briefing he gave to journalists just before Rwandans went to the polls to cast their vote. He actually talked about what will happen because there was a question that came in as to what will happen to Rwanda without Paul Kagame, and he had this to say.
Many places it is stolen from the treasury to where it is supposed to be. Maybe half of it is pocketed by some individuals, so gets lost through some other means. So we make sure we fight that alongside everything else we are doing. So this, and we are committed to doing it, and we are not apologetic about doing it, to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and we hold each other accountable, and that's important. I think for us, the progress we make, even with our limited resources, is because we make sure that every part of that goes to where it was planned to go. So that really is the issue. Now, talking about politics, or to the campaigns, the elections, and me being there and so on. You know, human beings, all of us, without exception, is none. live only for so long. All of us. In fact, like maybe if I'm looking at around the room, maybe in another 40 years, 50 would be on the higher side, I'm not sure. But let me be generous. In another 50 years, none of the people sitting here in this room will probably be around. So that's where we all go, no question about it. But while we are living, while we are still on this earth, we want to do what we want to do as individuals, as people, meaning collectively, and so on and so forth. So collectively, and by the way, it started by accident, meaning for me to be the president. Started here as an accident. Well, first of all, as an accident or luck, that I survived the many years that could have taken my life as many others' lives were lost. So I was lucky to be alive to the point that I became president. So it wasn't by plan at all. Even if it was to be by plan, I was still lucky. The second is that even as I was still alive at the beginning of this whole process, 30 years we've been here, some other people were chosen to be president. I wasn't. I was suggested in '94, I refused. I just felt I wasn't in a position to be president. So I worked with others to put another president there, who later on, whatever happened, was removed by parliament. And it's like those who wanted me to be president at the beginning came back to me and said, you see, we told you that allowing another person like this to be president. I said, I didn't know. Maybe you didn't know also. You're just blaming me for. So they said, now you should be president.
That's the president-elect of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, talking to journalists just before Rwandans went to the polls. I'm getting indications that Fidel is back with us. Fidel, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here, and
right. We are
doing
glad
well.
to have
Yes.
we are glad to have you back on board. Now we just listened to Paul Kagame. He actually was talking to journalists before Rwandans went to the polls on July 15, and he answered quite a good number of questions from journalists. And there they were asking what happens to Rwanda without Paul Kagame. What happens when he is no longer there? Now we are going to be looking at that in the minutes ahead. First of all, let's take a look at Kagame's policies. Now, when you look at Rwanda today and the Rwanda we had before Paul Kagame came to be the president of the country, what are some of the what analysis can you make of Rwanda? We know that even during his election campaign for this 2024 elections, he continued to talk about prosperity as well as development for the country. What can you say about this?
Yeah. Firstly, I think that I've said a lot about his achievement. He's been very effective and efficient as far as development in Rwanda is concerned. Mm-hmm. But sorry to say that I am not a fan of long stay in power. I am not. As an analyst, I'm always, no matter how effective you are, I'm not really a fan that one leader should stay and stay and stay and stay. Because then I feel that if institutions are built and they are going to be effective, you can only test their effectiveness when the leader that built them is not there. But as long as that leader is in power, then it will look like the institutions are synonymous to the leader. So as an analyst and as someone who has been following a lot of African issues, I believe that there's always a time for a leader to leave the scene. This is not to say that perhaps I am declaring that it is time for Kagame to leave or to stay. No, but I am not a fan, or I am not someone who advocates that a leader should overstay. I believe that when you have built a system, you give way for others to also step in. Other than that, the day you are no more, it will take a lot of difficulties for others to hold power. That's what we know in Africa. And I can give a number of examples. For instance, in Cote d'Ivoire, we had Houphouët Boigny, who was also very effective and transformational as far as Cote d'Ivoire was concerned. After independence, he stayed, whilst others like Nkrumah and others were overthrown. He stayed and he kept the country stable and prosperous. In fact, many neighboring states had their citizens moving to Cote d'Ivoire in the 80s and in the 90s. However, after his death, the country suffered a lot because then the country has never lived without him. And so what happened was that Cote d'Ivoire, after being stable for a long time, experienced 2 civil wars, experienced a coup d'etat, and a lot of difficulties until recently that there has been some stability, which is even still tenuous in a way. So I believe that, well, he is effective, he means well for his people, but as Africans, and I've always argued that every African country is made up of diverse groups of people. And in any particular moment, any person within the country should aspire to lead the country legitimately. If he goes to the polls and he is not allowed to lead, so be it. But it looks like the currently in Rwanda, everything revolves around him. And in the long term, even though he means well, in the long term, that could be very detrimental to the state. And it's my position. Thank you.
Right, Fidel, thank you so much. And going by what you're saying, are you of the opinion that at this point in time, Kagame should be, or is it going to pose a problem if Kagame leaves a part today and someone else comes in? Now, that takes us to the question of the opinion that at this point in time, Kagame should be grooming someone already that can run the country if he is not there tomorrow. Because that's a question that was being asked by many journalists. If Kagame, what happens to Rwanda without Kagame?
Yeah. I pray, before I answer your question, I pray that it will not be his offspring. I pray that it will not be any of his children taken over from him. When that happens, his legacy, I'm sorry to say, will be doomed forever. And people should, any Rwandan, no matter how you support Kagame, should pray that, or should not wish that his son or daughter or anybody takes over from him. If that happens, it's not going to help. Because if that happens, it will create a kind of elitist encirclement around the family. And in Africa, when that happens, it does not bode well for the ordinary person. We've seen it in Togo, we've seen it in Gabon, we saw it in Gabon, and that ultimately led to the coup that we are experiencing. So there should be a succession plan, as you've asked. There should be a succession plan. There should be someone who steps in, or there should be not particularly any particular person, but he should build it in such a way that people can have that kind of capacity and capabilities to step in when he is not around, so that there will be some continuity with governance. It does not necessarily mean that the person should come from his party. It does not necessarily mean that the person should be someone that he likes, but it should be anybody in Rwanda. Look, if I'm in a country and I cannot aspire to lead that country, no, I won't feel comfortable. That is personally. I also want my children to also aspire to lead my country or the country that they come from. So the system should be open for anybody, not just anybody with diabolical minds, but the people of Rwanda would have to choose, like Mr. Kagame believes that elections choose legitimate leaders. The same way, after his exit, we should have something like this. And after 24 years, the question is, or let's say, because the thing happened in 1994. He didn't become president all of a sudden. He became defense minister and then moved on to a position before becoming president. But after these years, how is the long-term plan for the country? In fact, these issues are sensitive issues because there are people in Rwanda who feel that they love the man so much that anybody who talks about transition is perhaps being disruptive. And I always have a problem that whenever you talk about a particular country in Africa and then you hear people say, leave the decision to the people will decide, often it is not, it is cosmetic. When it happens like that, it is cosmetic. So we have the right to also, I've been asked some questions that what is the way forward for Kagame, for Rwanda or Kagame, post-Kagame? But see, even some people feel that, well, he should stay because he have good intentions. He should stay till he passes on, leaves this world and things like that. But I don't think that should be it. We should be able to have a situation where Mr. Kagame is strong and healthy, but not president. And someone else is president, and Mr. Kagame is in Rwanda, and also advising such a person on how best the country should go.
Right. At some point in time, Kagame needs to become an advisor that will groom someone else into seeing Rwanda continue to take this trajectory that it is already on, growth and stability. We know Rwanda is one of those African countries that has experienced growth during the reign of Kagame. And of course, there is we can say there's some level of peace in Rwanda. Let's come back to you, LINZ, and we continue to talk about this long stay in power. And now, how do you think Rwandans perceive this the balance between extended political leadership and effective governance of the country? That's just what FIDEL was talking about, that we in Africa in most times, or maybe not only in Africa, in other parts of the world, as long as the leader is leading the country in the right directions, people are at peace, that he can continue to be there and see things through. Do you buy that opinion? And when you take a look at Rwanda right now, is that the case? Do you think that Rwandans have a problem with Kagame's long stay in power, or are they okay with the fact that the country is moving in the right direction?
Thank you so much. I think Rwandans are content with the stay of the president because for all the time he has been in power, he has been moving and leading the country in the right direction. And I would agree with Fidel that in most African countries, I think in every African country, the citizens would be frustrated to see a family member take over the post of the president, because presidency, leading a country, is nothing compared to business, where you can inherit your family's business and take over and be the managing director or anything. When it comes to leading the country, definitely there needs to be given a chance to other people to lead the country as well. And this is not saying that Rwandans or any African leader is tired of their leaders, but people just want somebody afresh to be there. And I also hope that whenever Paul Kagame decides to resign, there will be replacements, and I hope there will not be just one replacement, there will be several, so that of course the country can still keep moving by the steps and progress that Kagame has already paved. I can say that's what Paul Kagame has done for the country. He has literally just given direction. So whoever will come and take over should be in position to move the country to that same direction, or even to greater prosperity of the country.
Right. Thank you very much, LINZ. Now, with the outcome of the just ended elections, we see that Rwandans put their trust fully in Paul Kagame. And we go back to the question, what happens if Kagame is not there tomorrow. Now, what do you think, or how would Rwanda look like without Paul Kagame? And like Fidel mentioned, that he's not a fan of leaders staying for long in power, not mentioning, and him not mentioning that he's wanting that Paul Kagame should not be there. But at some point, like he mentioned, and if I may add my voice to what he was saying, is that if a leader stays for long in power and at some point someone else comes and is not able to fit in to the policies of this past leader, and then everything goes back to ground level. So what do you think Rwanda should be doing at this time, or the political scene? Because we see that even the opposition, they actually accepted the results. Not that I was wanting the opposition to contest the elections, but then we continue to ask the question, what happens when Paul Kagame is not there? What happens to Rwanda post Paul Kagame? Do you think that the Rwanda or someone who comes in after Paul Kagame, the country is going to experience this growth and stability that the country is enjoying at this point in time?
Right now, it's very difficult to predict what the future holds for the country. But in my opinion, I think it would be great for the government, with the due diligence, of course, of the president, to be looking for candidates that will be in position to take over after Paul Kagame has resigned. Because definitely there has to be somebody to run the interior, to just rule the country. So we would not want to see anything happen like what happened in Kenya, when everybody was happy about the change of having a new person and the president, and after Uhuru left and Ruto came into power, it's like it was contrast. Everything was just contradictory to what they had in the when Uhuru was still in power. So I would suggest, I would really love to see that a new person already exists in the government and is probably working within the political party of the president, or maybe even if it's opposition side, but whoever the person is and ready to take over presidency should already be in the position right now and be doing something in line with that. It would be something just like a student that has been an intern, and once he has passed the probation period, he can already move into the company. So I hope that something of that sort would also happen in the administration of the president. Otherwise, we don't know what to expect from Rwanda. Maybe fortunately or unfortunately, it's probably also good not to know what to expect, because for now we just see stability, and at least we do not have any possibilities of having destability, which is very important for most of the African countries right now. And I think we are at great advantage not to have experienced the conflicts that are happening in West Africa and in neighboring country, Kenya.
Thank you very much, LINZ. Thank you so much for that analysis. Let's come back to you, Fidel, and let's go back to look at the way Paul Kagame has been governing Rwanda and the growth that the country has been experiencing over the years and continues to experience, as well as the stability. What do you think Paul Kagame is doing that other African leaders or other global leaders have to copy from him? What is it that in your opinion, that Paul Kagame is doing that is leading Rwanda towards this direction of growth and stability?
Yeah, thank you. Your question is very simple but very heavy. The reason is that the experience of Rwanda is not the same as the other countries across the continent. They have a unique history, especially the recent history, the genocide and other events that happened in that country. The ethnic dynamics and everything is different. And so then I will not recommend Mr. Kagame's style to, let's say, Ruto. The reason is that Ruto is more tied than Mr. Kagame. Ruto came to succeed a president who was himself bounded by the fully bounded constitution. I mean, Uhuru was not the creator of the new Kenyan constitution. He was a product of it, and so is Ruto. But in Rwanda, Paul Kagame started a state building from the scratch. I mean, effectively so. And so he created, after 94, they sat down, I mean, reconciliation, things like that, what to put in place to make sure that what happened in 1994, that wicked act did not happen again. And so how to build the state, how to, and in so doing, there are some steps that has been taken in Kigali or Rwanda that would not be suitable like a country like, say, Kenya or Ghana. For instance, Ghana from 1992 has had one constitution, and in that constitution, we've had several changes in government. Nigeria from 1999 have had that. So we don't see the reason. I mean, in Ghana, we've had various parties coming in and out and all that. So that is different. But in Rwanda, we've had one system in place since 94. And it's difficult to say that, let's say, a country like Benin or Nigeria should emulate something from Rwanda. It will be unfair and it will be impractical. And it is the same way that when people talk about long-term stay or long stay in office, they will mention Singapore. The Singapore example has been, is more like an overflocked horse. Everybody is mentioning Singapore, but they refuse to say that Singapore is one country where you can sit at one point and see the end of the country, the literal end of the country. It's a small city-state, Singapore. So if Lee Kuan Yew ruled Singapore with iron fist and transformed it, it doesn't mean that that same thing can happen in Ghana or, let's say, Kenya or Mozambique, because these are multi-ethnic countries that are vast, and sometimes some places are even ungovernable. For instance, you talk of Mozambique, you are talking about Cabo Delgado in the north, where extremists are now taking over the place. Mm-hmm. So if you are dealing with these comparison, it is very difficult to say. Again, Paul Kagame, I mean, is the master of all he surveys in Rwanda. That is the fact. He does not really have real opposition in Rwanda. I can't remember the last time we saw a protest, the kind of which we are seeing in some countries. And somebody will say, well, then it means that he's doing perfect. No, I don't believe that. There are some issues that some people may not be happy with, but the system is such that it is built towards stability. There's overemphasis on stability. So any action that will seek to undermine that stability is quenched or nipped right in the bud. And sometimes it is good. Other times it could be that real opposition is being bridled or stifled. And so we must look at all these. And in all this, I think every country is unique. And so different sicknesses comes with different remedies. However, we must be very pragmatic and very open so that we don't suggest some remedies that do not suit certain systems. So what Mr. Kagame is doing in Rwanda is perhaps good for Rwanda. But I will not rush to say that Uhuru should take a cue from him. For instance, I wrote an article recently and I was saying that there are two types of civilian rules in Africa, two types of civilian rule. One is illiberal, like I mentioned, where the person is more of a strong man and very dominant. The other is the kind of a liberal one that is constitutional. In fact, if you go to Nairobi, the Supreme Court, you are likely to find many cases that the president will lose or the ruling government will lose. But I doubt if that could happen in Kigali, where the president wants things to go, the Supreme Court thinks otherwise. It's rare. and these are very honest, but I mean, these are realities that are happening between Kenya. If you took Kenya aside and then you put Rwanda at the other side. So if I put these two leaders on the scale, I think that one is more controlled by the constitution. The constitution is towering in Kenya, but in Rwanda, we have a strong personality who is perhaps trusted by the people, and so it's more like a strong man running the show, more or less. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fidel. Of course, Rwandans have their full trust in Kagame. And like you mentioned earlier on, and you said you have even written articles on that, that Paul Kagame does not really have any contender at the moment in Rwanda. Now, if Paul Kagame does not have a contender in the country, now how do we look forward to having somebody that can replace him? Because as it stands, 3/4 of Rwandans put their trust in Kagame. So how is Rwanda going to go around this to have Rwandans now start trusting someone else if tomorrow Kagame is not there? What really needs to be done in the country? What can you say as an expert? What can you propose that Rwanda has to do at this point in time to see into it that there is continuity in case Kagame is not there tomorrow?
Angola had Dos Santos ruling from 1979 thereabout till he left office not long ago. After that, his defense minister took over. It was a long rule, and which I don't like from the beginning. I've said I'm not a fan of. But after he handed over, Angola has not collapsed. So it is still a country that is running. The only thing is that his children, who had dominated certain sectors of the economy, were found wanting because the new administration of the same party had to probe them about the riches, because his daughter became the richest woman in Africa. And one may ask, would she have become the richest woman if not that she was the daughter of a president? And things like that. So it could create a lot of problems. So Rwanda, and we all hope that it's not going to collapse. But there are some real issues that are hanging around. For instance, Rwanda is facing a rebellion. People don't talk about it that much. But there's a rebellion backed by Hutu, the Hutu ethnicity, that is threatening Rwanda. That is a reality. Rwanda has this friction with DRC, also bothering around this rebellion, the M23, and things like that. It is also in Rwanda. Rwanda some time ago had issues with Uganda. So despite whatever good that is happening geopolitically in the region, Rwanda still has some challenges. And so whoever is going to succeed Paul Kagame will be facing the same challenges. Perhaps currently, Mr. Kagame is very good at handling these challenges, but could we say the same for whoever that will succeed him later? But to talk about a transition, I think that the reason we are not having real opposition, in recent past, we found a particular woman who showed up to contest her. Not long after showing interest, her nude pictures were in the internet and were published and things like that. In the past, we've had people who have criticized Mr. Kagame, and the state has not really been kind to such people. These are things that are really factual. And so what I think is that perhaps Mr. Kagame has a theory that he doesn't want any distraction or any disruption of the path he's putting the country on. But that is also debatable, as in your disruption may be someone's legitimate concerns. So these are some of the realities that hit us as expect that in as much as we admire some of the things he's done in the country, we are also concerned about his more of a towering figure, which is very enigmatic and at the same way admirable. So that is where we stand. And I believe that every country or any individual, in fact, even in monarchies, there are succession plans. even in monarchies where the leader must stay till he or she passes on. There are succession plans. For instance, Prince Charles was one of the longest leaders in waiting. He took for decades for the mother to pass on before he took over. But that's a different system because Britain is not an absolute monarchy. They have an effective democratic government over there and a ceremonial monarchy. So I'm not trying to draw comparison, but I'm trying to say that there must be some succession planning. Whoever that will succeed will not necessarily supervise the collapsing of the state, but will face challenges because of the kind of shoe that he must put his feet in. It could be too much of a large shoe or a complex shoe to wear in Kigali. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fidel. Thank you so much for that analysis. Before I give back if I give back the word to LINZ, now earlier on I was asking, or I asked LINZ about the challenges that Kagame still has to, or he has ahead. What is it that has not been done in the past government? The areas where Rwanda is still lagging behind. I know you mentioned earlier on that Kagame has taken the country to different levels in quite a good number of areas. Do you still think, because LINZ mentioned of the fact that youth unemployment is still a problem in Rwanda. So what do you think are some of those areas that Kagame needs to work in this new term in office?
Yes, in Africa, I've always said that the Rwandan story has been told so well. I think Mr. Kagame has also been very excellent when it comes to communication. I mean, communicating the Rwandan story. In fact, in actual fact, Rwanda is a poor country. Rwanda is no size to Ghana, Kenya, and many countries in Africa. I mean, Gabon. No, Rwanda is nowhere close. In terms of per capita, the size of the economy and everything, it's still a poor country. But the whole story has been couched in a very nice way, and which is, this was a country descending in chaos, or into chaos, in 1994. A genocide that killed around 800,000 people, close to 1 million. Mm-hmm. And people even think that the figures are more. And this gentleman was able to stabilize or stop the situation from getting worse, stabilizing it and propelling it towards positive ends. So it makes the Rwandan story look like something that is better than almost every other African story. But in actual fact, many countries in Africa, or a significant number of countries in Africa, are doing better than Rwanda is doing. And that is something that I have discussed before, that it is a story that is not, I'm not saying that it's propaganda, but I'm saying that it has been well packaged. But for instance, if you are comparing Kenya, the Kenyan economy is one of the fastest growing and one of the best in terms of diversity, technology, in terms of production, in terms of service, the service sector, tourism. For instance, you cannot compare tourism in Rwanda with that of Kenya, even though people still go there. Kenya has a very buoyant economy. And in last year, we had Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya attracting the most foreign direct investment, FDI, into East Africa. And Rwanda is in the region, but Rwanda was not there. So you look at it, and then you realize that despite the good story, the ordinary Rwandans still need the attention of government. Other than that, at a point, something may just burst in the face of people. I mean, they will say that, this was happening and we didn't know, because as I said, Mr. Kagame and his government are very dominant. And sometimes I don't think that all that people need to hear from Rwanda is heard. And so I think that this is the way I would just put it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fidel. Of course, Rwanda has areas which still have their flaws that Kagame has to look into. And I think Rwanda's growth trajectory is so present to the world, or is so dominance in the world is because the country left from a problem to where it is right now, so much so that even the growth in other countries may not be compared to the one in Rwanda. Like Fidel just mentioned, Rwanda has areas that cannot be seen and which need to be looked into. Let's come back to you, LINZ. We have a few more minutes to be together. Now, just coming to get your last words on what the future has for Rwanda, what Paul Kagame, I know earlier on you already mentioned that he has to work in the field of youth unemployment and as well as technology. So if you have to give your concluding remarks with regards to President-elect Paul Kagame's new term in office, what would you say that this new administration should do to continue to put Rwanda on that trajectory of stability and growth and prosperity as well?
So I would like to base on my opinion right now will just be based more of in the business sector. So I think it's good that there is a lot of stability. There is stability in general in Rwanda, and it is good to always come to Rwanda and feel safe and know that nothing will happen to you. You won't be robbed. You feel like you're always under protection, and that's a good thing because it attracts more investors into the country. Despite of that, I think Rwanda still does not have enough investors in the country, and it is a necessity that is actually needed right now because for the country to develop further, it will not do well. It will take long to catch up with the other countries if there is no presence of investors in the country. And much as now it may look like, I don't know, it's like small Paris in Africa, but it still needs a lot more to do to get onto position, maybe like South Africa, for example, is one country that I would compare to South Africa. Business-wise, there is still a lot of unprofessional things that are really existing in the job markets, and I think it's connected again with the unemployment problem and people that have been probably some of them are not educated or are not inspired to learn something new because they know what exists in the country already exists. So there is nothing maybe they can really change, and no one wants to really change anything. Everyone is comfortable with the way everything is, but I think the need to shatter the country just a little bit. It does not mean that it's calling the country for destabilization or something, but to wake people up and know that besides that, there is more we have to do as a country to grow. So stability and security, everything is okay, it's perfect, but we need something else towards that. So I hope that after elections and after the president has sworn in, there will be upcoming projects that will be in position to boost the country's progress to another level, because otherwise Rwanda, unfortunately, will probably remain as a country that is just the safe and clean country, and that is it, and will not hear anything else about it.
Right. Thank you very much, LINZ. Rwanda has to open its doors to more investors coming into the country. That's what LINZ is saying, and the growth and prosperity and the stability should continue in the country. Now, Fidel, your last words before we go. We just have 1 more minute to be together. What advice can you give to this new administration? We know Kagame is still at the helm. Where are the areas where Kagame needs to pick up from, and what are your last words?
Thank you for a fantastic interview. I would like to say that Rwandans are safe. They are safe, and then perhaps from this verdict, maybe we are made aware that they really want their leader to stay on. That's great. However, as an international relations analyst and security expert, I would like to talk about the region. The issue of M23 in Eastern DRC. I believe that the blame game should stop. People should stop demonizing Mr. Kagame, and the other side should also stop demonizing the Congolese leader. They must sit around the table and negotiate in order to reach some deal so that our brothers and sisters in Eastern DRC can have some peace. And I think that if the Congo leader says that he's never going to speak to Kagame, it is not right. And I believe that if Rwandan forces are also found in Congolese territory, it's not also right. Angola has taken the initiative to provide good offices in Rwanda in order to negotiate, in order to reach some peace. There are a lot of resources in the Lake Kivu area and the area in Eastern DRC where these resources can be exploited for the economic well-being of the countries in the region, including Rwanda. Sometimes when you don't have the resources within your territory, but even a neighboring country has it, it affects the economy as well, because then something is happening. This is not to say Rwanda doesn't have resources. It has a lot of resources. So we need peace and stability for these resources to be exploited and to benefit the people. So I think that Mr. Kagame's predictability in office, we know that he's going to stay there for some time. He should use that to lead peace in the region, so that as Africans, when Central Africa is stable because wherever you are going, from the south to the north, east to west, west to east, you have to go through the Central Africa. And so we need that. We need peace in such a strategic place in order to develop as a continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fidel. Thank you so much. The issue of M23, Fidel, they're just saying that the two leaders, the president of the DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, and Kagame, have to come around it. They have to sit together and talk and find a way around this issue of the M23 and not the DRC, accusing Rwanda all the time of being involved with this M23. And also he said that that Rwandan forces also do not have a right to be on Congolese soil if they have not been granted that go ahead. I want to thank you so much, Fidel. Thank you so much, LINZ, for taking our time to be with us in this edition of the program. Quite great insights from you there with regards to Rwanda's just ended elections and the current leadership, and where this leadership has to pick up and what it has done so far and what Rwandans are still expecting of Paul Kagame. We had FIDEL AMAKYE OWUSU joining us from Ghana. He is an international relations expert as well as a security analyst. And we equally had LINZ CAMARA joining us all the way from Moscow, Russia. She is a Rwandan as well as a journalist by a profession. We thank you so much for always taking our time to be with us. And we are hoping to be with you once again on our subsequent editions of the program. Until then, we leave you in the company of more of our transmissions.